Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you are well. I've just come on a few minutes early just so that everybody's here. Hopefully, we'll start in about 2 minutes. We'll just wait for everybody to show up and then we'll get going. Just a quick apology. We had some glitches with the online training, so if you've struggled to get onto the platform to get the training, I do apologise. I filmed the whole series and there was audio issues, and then we had some other issues. So the whole training's up there now, so you can go back and look at it there. But the new modules are being recorded as well to add to it. But today's session is really kind of the overview training and some Q&A. So I'll get on with this in a second. If you have to skip today's session, don't worry. It will be recorded and uploaded to the online platform where you can get access, so that will be up as well. And we will do a replay of this again in the future, so don't worry if you miss it. We'll just wait one more minute and then we'll get started. And if you can put your questions to the end. One of the things I wanted to share, which I go into detail on the course, on the recorded course, is that everything I'm going to share with you today has actually been learned through the pain of it, from literally having to fight to survive and really rebuild something after a horrible business split, which is very much part of our identity in terms of where we've come from and how we do things, because we've had to build the plane whilst we're flying it. And whilst I've known a lot of this stuff for a long time, I'd never really put it together in a way that we could use and in a way that was consistently used. And this is a real problem for businesses. The more businesses I see that they're flicking between strategies and things like that and not really getting their heads around the fact that you just need us to work something, a simple strategy you can work. So this today is basically, it's years of something that's learned that I've tried to condense down into a simple, straightforward way you can approach things that will get you sales, and that will get you getting inbound inquiries, that will get you generating leads and sales that are not transactional. And I've done this before. I don't want to spoil the training, but I've done this before. Hello, Cloud Today. Hello, Ibiama. Transactional clients. I don't want transactional clients. I want people who work with you on relationship. I've been in those kind of environments where it's commodity-based selling, where your relationship is only as good as your price, and there's no real relationship. And in any kind of business relationship, particularly when it's services rather than manufacturing, you have to have that rapport because it's a complex relationship. Sometimes things happen that you can't do something or they can't do something, so you need that relationship to make the thing work. And what you don't want is every 5 minutes the clients are going, oh, we've got a better price, so we're leaving unless you give us a cheaper price. So this is really about that kind of journey that I've been on, and I'm going to talk you through it. Go onto the platform, you can log in and get your training. Go to maverick.io, and in the top corner is login. And if you can't remember your login, just go and reset your password with your email address. It'll send you the password reset and you can get in and see the training. Okay, so let's get started. We've got about an hour and a half for today's session, so we'll be done by 2:30. So let's crack on. So let me get my clicker working. So a bit about my background is what I'm going to go through. Why sales now won't work. Why people buy stuff. The one strategy, see, taste and buy tactics, and then your actions and some of the key things that you could mess up or not mess up. And this is so simple, really, really simple. So it's so simple you can do. So my background, and I love these GIFs. I've started adding them in my PowerPoints. Just a bit of a summary, really. I've been in sales and marketing for 20 years. Never been really confident cold caller, so I've always found a way around it. Always managed to hit my numbers, but never through cold calling. So I've never really had to have that scenario whereby I've had to push hard. MyCloud, the official release of the product is today. So the official product release is today. You've got digital access to everything from this month, but it will start to ship it all out now that we're active. So now that it's live. So don't worry about that. So I've always managed to, but I didn't understand what I was doing until 2013. I really didn't understand properly what I was doing. And I said earlier about I had a nasty split, World War III in a business, put us on our arse bluntly, and we had to rebuild. But we had to rebuild by using all of this, putting it into order, and field testing it. Now, what do I mean by field testing? I mean we implemented as we went. There was no time to sit and let's plan this out for 3 months. It was literally, we had to go at this and literally go at it from the next day. I remember it clearly when the official kind of thing happened in the business split. There was literally the next day we were on our own. There was no more revenue, no more what we were used to. We were totally on our own, and we had to make it work. So when I'm saying all this to you and you go, wow, I'm not expecting you to go away and spend the next 6 months kind of figuring this out. I'm expecting you to implement it as you go, and you will work out what works and what tweaks you need to make in the field in real time, not try and work out this huge document that you don't know if it works until you implement it, and then you go back and try and edit it again and go back. Just have a go. Just have a go, perfect it, and when you find that it's really performing, just crystallize it. Crystallize it at that point. Field test. I'm a big believer in field testing. Okay, I just thought I'd put Donald Trump in just to be provocative. So why sales now? Sales now doesn't work, and I'll tell you why. So if you've seen any of my training, I share this graph quite a bit. But effectively, 97% of your market, your customers, potential customers, are not looking for your product or your service right now. That's the truth. They're not looking. They're not even thinking about it, half of them. So the majority are not looking. This tiny sliver are actively looking right now. They're the people Googling. They're the people asking for proposals. They're sending out RFQs. All of those things. They're the people out there right now. So what happens when you pursue a sales now? In other words, we've got numbers to hit, a very short-term strategy, and there's nothing wrong with it, because sometimes we have those rough patches and we need to just hit the numbers. But if you run your business that way, you will end up in a very frustrated position where your revenue is like a yo-yo. It's really not great for you. So what happens when you pursue this sales now strategy is you look for all of the people who can potentially buy right now. And that informs the way you think, the way you approach them, the way you interact with them. And what happens is you inadvertently create a transactional situation. So most aren't looking. You're finding active buyers is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's literally hunting through. And what you're potentially doing, particularly if you've got an aggressive sales approach, is you're eliminating people as you go. You burn potential future clients by hunting for the active buyers, because people will say to you, no, I'm not interested. It's not for us, and all this kind of stuff. So literally you're looking for the minority in the majority and hoping that you find them. And the worst case scenario is, you see it a lot, is you attract transactional clients, people who are looking to buy what you've got to offer, but they want it at the lowest possible price and they want it to a specification, and you've got no ability to move. It's a very competitive process. In other words, give me a quote for a website. Not, what can you do for me? How can you help me? So sales now is pursuing the 3% at the expense of the other 97%. So whilst I'm going to show you it in a graph a bit later, that it actually works in the short term. Sales now strategy works in the short term, but in the long term, it becomes more and more difficult to make it work. So if you're hard up right now and you need sales now, go do a sales now strategy. But if you want to be in that same position in 6 to 9 months' time, keep doing what you're doing. If you want to be in a different position in 6 to 9 months' time or in 3 years' time, this is what we need to talk about. So maybe you have to do a little bit of both because of what's going on at the moment. You have to do a little bit of both. But long term, this works. So we had 6 to 9 months of robbing Peter to pay Paul, stealing and borrowing, falling on the grace of people, and even some of our clients that we did have. We had a small number of clients. We had about $7,000 a month with 8 staff. So you can see the numbers don't work. We were upside down financially. Some of our clients offered to front load some of their invoices to keep us alive whilst we did this. And some of our long-standing clients and friends of mine actually said, I'm going to buy stuff from you to keep you ticking over. And they did. Nuts, I know, but, relationships in business matter. So when we did this, we had a weird situation whereby we were upside down from day one, loss-making on day one. So we had this eagerness to sell. And what we found was we were attracting the wrong people, the people who wanted it done their way. And you'd compromise to get them to do it, to get them on board because you needed the money. And it was a disaster. It was a bad idea. But we started doing this, and within 6 months we were on an even keel, and within 9 months we were out of feeling like we were just about treading water before we went under. And that's how quickly it reversed. I'll show you how that reversed in a second, but sales now causes this problem. So we also distinguished this at the same time. And again, I'm putting a lot of stuff into order here that I figured out over a period of time. So I've tried to make this as simple as possible. And in follow-up training, just so you're aware, if you bought this training, we do update them. So you will get more updated stuff as we go. So do keep checking in because there will be new modules added all the time. So every time we update the program, you get access. So as we refine the thinking on this and refine some of the mechanisms that you can use, not the strategy stays the same, but sometimes we find easier ways of getting points across. We'll update that there. So why sales now won't work and shoppers versus buyers. So shoppers, we define shoppers and buyers as different people. Shoppers are looking for your service right now. They're people who are going, I need a website, or I need this, or I need that, or another. They're more likely to be transactional customers. Transactional customers buy on price, and price is a major factor in that because they're comparing you with somebody else. Buyers need an answer to a problem but haven't settled on a solution, and they may not even see the problem yet. But we know that buyers are looking for the value. Yeah. Shoppers are looking for the best option. Now, you might think you are the best option, but you can't guarantee that. And, how can I put this without sounding dodgy? You don't want to be in a competitive process. Nobody wants to be in a competitive process. That's the last resort for us. So why would we position all of our efforts to attract the people we would have liked, or the methods or process we'd like to avoid? So we don't want to be in a competitive process. We want somebody to see the value in us and say, I'm making a decision based on, can you deliver the value? Do I believe you can deliver the value? And do I want to make this step? They're the questions we want. We don't really want people to put us in a competitive process and compare and contrast us with other people, because there will be things that we'll be better at and there'll be things that we'll be worse at. So let's not cater to the place where it's more likely we're not going to win the business. So let's think about buyers. Buyers want an answer to a problem but haven't settled on a solution. What does this mean for us? Well, this means something really important. It means that your competitor might not be somebody selling what you do. For an example, now I'll use website services or SEO. I'll use SEO because it's easy. Why do people buy SEO? Well, people buy SEO for lots of different reasons, but generally it's because they want more traffic. So they want more traffic to their website. Okay, why do they want more traffic? Because they want more inquiries, probably. Why do they want more inquiries? Because they want more sales. So if somebody's looking for more sales, they could get SEO. They could get another salesperson. They could invest in direct marketing. They could invest in cold calling. They could do lots of things to get the same result. Whereas if somebody settled on SEO, they will review you against another SEO company. And then it'll be a case of, does your services match up to theirs? Does theirs look better than yours? Have they got more experience than you? Are they cheaper than you? All of these variables come into play. So buyers are where the margin is. Buyers is where the margin is. Okay, so why do people buy stuff? Let's just recap this, because this is common sense, but it's really, really important. Why do people buy stuff? Pain. Yeah, people buy to solve pain. If you're selling to humans, which everybody is, by the way, pain sells. Now you might think, oh, really, pain? I sell luxury products? Yes, pain sells. Pain is the most powerful motivator of causing people to buy something. So let's look at this in more detail, because some people go, I don't want to sell negatively. I'm not asking you to sell negatively. I'm just reminding you of a fact that pain sells. So if you're in pain, you want pain relief. If you're in agony, you will pay any price to get that relief. If you are eager to achieve something, it becomes a pain to not be there. So think about that. If you want, let's say you're a business and you're turning over 8 million and your goal is to turn over 10 million. And you've been flatlining for 4 or 5 years at 8 million, bouncing around 7.8, 8.1, 7.4, you're bouncing around that 8 million turnover. It becomes a frustration and a pain if you can't get to the 10 million. That's not negative. Yeah, people are aspiring to go further and grow and expand, but are feeling like they're hitting a brick wall. It seems like a ceiling's on them. So pain can come in lots of different forms, lots of different formats, but effectively and fundamentally, people are trying to get somewhere. And you'll see my trademark diagram that it's not trademark, but I use it a lot. Your product or service is not the be all and end all. Sorry, I'm sounding really abrasive today. I don't mean it. Your product or service is a tool, a vehicle, or a bridge to get people to a destination. Where your clients, our potential clients, are right now is not where they want to be. They want to be somewhere else. Where is that? And your product or service needs to close the gap between point A, point 1 in this diagram, and point B, point 2 in this diagram. Often customers don't care. I'm saying this glibly, but take it the way I mean it. They don't care about the tool that gets them there as long as they feel confident it will get them there. That's why if you can demonstrate to a customer, and I don't mean literally factually analytically, I mean if a customer can believe and you can deliver £2 million worth of revenue from SEO services, and they believe and are confident that you can do that, you will sell SEO services to help people grow from 8 million to 10 million. It's that straightforward. Likewise, you could take a marketing agency and you could be a brilliant designer. You could say, I could create powerful graphics that will capture the attention of your customers, and I can help that with that. If you can demonstrate an evidence and support, and the customer believes what you're saying, has to be true, of course, that through amazing graphic design, amazing creativity, you can help that business go from 8 million to 10 million, the customer will buy. So it's not just about going, do you need SEO services? Do you need graphic design services? It's actually about thinking about what does your vehicle, your bridge, your tool, your product or service enable the customer to do or to achieve. So where are they now? Where do they want to get to? And how does your service further that? because that's where value comes in. That's where the real value in your product and service is. It's not in the components. It's not in the sum of your services parts. It's not in the bells and whistles. They're all nice add-ons, but they're not the reason to buy the car. The reason to buy the car to get you to the destination is because you want to go to the destination. If you live in your house, if you're on permanent lockdown for the rest of your life and all your food's delivered and all of that happens, so you never have to leave your house, and you're not allowed to leave your house, car sales would collapse. Because people don't buy fast cars if they can't drive them. People don't buy nice cars if they can't go anywhere. They buy the car. The first pain is I want to get somewhere. The second pain is how do I want to arrive? And the third pain on buying a car is how do they want the car to perceive them? How do people, if people see the car, how does it stamp on their identity? But if there's no need for a car, the whole thing falls apart. So where are they now? Where do they want to get to? And the tool is your service or product that helps them get there. Very, very straightforward. Everybody's still alive right there. You're all very quiet. I can see that there's 33 people watching and what have you, but I can't hear it. Just let me know if you're still alive. So they want to get out of pain and achieve an outcome. What's the pain your customer might be in, and what's the outcome that you can help them achieve? Just think about that. Even scribble it down. What's the pain they're in right now? Where are they stuck? Where do they want to get to? Think of it like your customers on the side of the road, broken down, their hazard lights. Glad you're still breathing, Pro Level. Imagine your customers broken down on the side of the road. Yeah, there's a time sensitive. They want to get somewhere. Where do they want to go? And are you going in the right direction that helps them get on that? You can give them a lift. Imagine that. They're broken down on the side of the road. Yeah. You want to know what's wrong with the car and what their situation is and where they want to get to. What's the time frame they need to get there? And are you going in the same way that helps them get where they're going? So if they're I'm in Plymouth today. So if I'm in Plymouth, let's say they break down on the M5. So they're broken down on the M5 and there's no recovery. That would be the first thing, recovery. But let's say there's no recovery. They park the car safely but they have to be in Birmingham by the end of the day. And I say, okay, I'm going to London. That won't help them. Yeah. Ben's barely alive. So where are they now? Where do they want to be? How are you going to help them get there? So you've got to close the gap between where they are and where they want to be. Dead simple. Whether you're selling widgets, whether you're selling commodities, whether you're selling manufactured product, whether you're selling a service, this is the fundamentals of why people buy stuff. And the bigger the pain, the more valuable your solution. The bigger the pain, the more valuable your solution. Very, very important. Very, very important. So hopefully you remember this cartoon, Thundercats, but I've used it as a GIF just to keep things a bit more diverse and interesting. So this is where you start to pin this down and put this into detail now. We know why people buy. We know that pain sells. We know that if we do sales now, it will cause us problems in the long term. So this is the strategy we put together, albeit not as concisely as this because we had to figure it all out as we did it. But why does this matter? So the one strategy punches through a noisy, crowded marketplace. Everybody's got a noisy and crowded marketplace. So it helps you get through all of that noise. And instead of fighting an all-out assault, like, invading Normandy, you fight like a member of the French resistance. You're not going to take on a big thing. You're going to pick things out that undermine the war effort. So you're going to fight like a resistance movement rather than trying to invade France. Yeah. So if you were thinking about invading a country, take a city. If you wanted to take a city, take a town or a suburb. If you wanted to take a town, take a street. Focus on what you can take and sustain and build out from there. So don't try and take territory you can't hold. Don't try and do things you can't sustain. take on something you can sustain, you can do successfully, and you can stay nimble with it. The one strategy will bring focus to your efforts. It will really focus what you're trying to do, and it promotes you based on your value. So really, really important. So here we go. So the one strategy is one client. Who can you solve the problem for? What's the biggest problem? What's the one message that you want people to remember about you? So let's say you'd land a message across, I don't know, the internet. What would it be? What's that one message that your prospects need to know, so that if in 6 months' time they have a problem, they know it's you? And then finally, what's the one offer? The entry point to being a customer. And this one offer is not about limiting your services. It's not about creating a new service per se. It's about having something really key that says, if you've got this problem, if you want to get here, this is a little bit that you can take that will get you part of that way. And the one offer is not designed as, oh, I've only got one product to sell now. If you're a team, you might pick different strategies based on different problems and different clients. But if you're one person doing this, what you should be doing is focusing on what's the entry point to being a customer. In the consulting world, and one of my students calls it land and expand, and it's quite a good way of saying it. Convert them into a customer, whether it be a small product, £500 starter product or whatever, and grow that relationship once they're a client so that they spend more with you. Give them something that they can latch onto, see the value, see the benefit, and develop the relationship. This is a brilliant way to do things through social media, but you can do it through email, you can do it through on all different channels. Land and expand. So who can you solve a problem for? What's the biggest problem? What's the key message you want them to remember about you? And what's the entry point or gateway offer or product or service that you can put out to them that helps them say, yes, I'm in, I'm becoming a client. It doesn't have to be some training course. It could be an actual service. It could be an actual product. It could be any of those things, but it helps bring people on board. This works particularly well with corporate clients because you can develop a relationship with them and then show them how you can make a bigger difference. And I've used this on corporate clients. I've used it with small clients. My students have used it, and with corporate clients and small clients, it works. And I'll show you some of the ways it works in a second. So let's have a look at some tactics you can bolt onto it. So there's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. One client, one problem, one message, one offer. So let's look at the tactics we can bolt on. And again, this is a universal process. So you can use this whether you're B2B or B2C. You can use it whether you're in manufacturing or automotive or creative or accounting. Creative accounting, don't be in that. You can do it as in legal. You can use it in insurance. You can use it in security. It will work anywhere. So 4 steps: one client, one problem, one message, one offer. Now let's flip to the tactical. Let's look at the tactical that's the strategic. Now we're going to the tactics. So this is what I call see, taste, and buy. Very, very simple strategy. And the purpose of this tactic, or these tactics, is to maintain high visibility with the people, the prospects, to be known for solving a problem. Hint, hint, one of the key messages you want people to remember about you is that you can solve a particular problem. That will bear you no end of results if people know you can solve a problem. If your business can solve a problem, or you as a person, or if you're providing a service based on your expertise, you will want people to know you can solve this problem. And just as an aside, this whole process allowed us to do 1.4 million revenue from standing start of like $7,000 a month with retention clients in 18 months. 18 months. Because we just did this. No paid advertising, no Facebook ads, no Google ads, no YouTube ads, none of it. We only implemented YouTube ads this year, and we did it because we want to scale. That's why we did it. We wanted to scale faster. So in the training on the platform, we've actually got a bit more detail on this that you can dig into. But effectively, we worked on the basis that at a point we wanted to reach enough people that we could have enough people know about us for the next 5 years. So we brought ads in this year because we want to have 10,000 customers this year. So we brought that in to scale what was already working successfully. Organic works the best, and then you scale. Scale organic performance. Don't try and create things from scratch because you won't know what's working, what's not working. You want to do organic first and then scale with paid, if you're going down the advertising route, whether that be conventional or what have you. So this whole process is to be in the right place for the right time, not needle in a haystack, but you're building a magnet. You've got a strategy and then tactics that help you build a magnet rather than go hunting for a needle in a haystack. So it appeals to people who want a value solution or value a solution. So whatever channels you choose to use, what I would say is make sure that you're occupying places where your clients are. So if you're going to do email outreach, do email outreach. If you're going to do social media, do social media. If you're going to do cold calling, do cold calling. Whatever it is, do it where they are and where you can get to them. Don't do it if there's not there. If you're doing it in the wrong place, it's a waste of time. Make sure your messaging is really clear, obvious, and concise. No waffle. Include the pain points, and I'll come to that in a second. So the purpose of the C tactic and the purpose of regular output is to get and hold attention. And how do you do that? You use the gap. Remind people where they are, where they want to be. Sometimes you'll see on social media, I ask double questions. I ask a question about the pain, and then I ask a question about where they want to be. So I did this with a LinkedIn story the other day, got 20 asked for more info on the overnight, and then the rest of the day I got another 34 all asking for more information because I asked a double question. The first question was about the pain, the second question was about the outcome, and it was something like, do you want to generate, are you fed up of generating leads? Do you want to get more leads? Do you want to get 10 new clients from LinkedIn? Comment below and I'll send you some more info. That was it. Double questions can help you get and hold attention. And the way you think of the double questions is, one, go into the resources section on the online platform and you can get the ideal client profile, which will help you map out your customers, map out their pains and the questions that you probably need to be using to convert more clients. So C is really, really important. Taste. Now, this is the types of things you should be putting out there. The types of things you should be putting out there. First of all, teach. Now, you might think, what can I teach? Well, actually, if you're going down this road, if you're going to implement this, you should be thinking about the pain points that your customers have. Now, I would advocate that anybody who's providing a solution to a pain should become an expert in the pain. So if you're an expert in your customer's pain, you will know that pain better than your customers will. And the reason I say that is because you will be dealing with this pain and providing solutions on a daily basis. Your customers will be doing it as a one-off maybe. They might not deal with it all the time. So your customer's pain, you should be the expert. A bit like going to a consultant. You know, if you're a neurologist, you deal with brains and brain operations every day. But to the patient, they might see it as a unique thing. It's the first time. It's something they've never experienced before. So they might be unfamiliar with it. Whereas you as the consultant, a neurologist say, would know all about the brain and you've probably done some of the operations. So common, you know them off the back of your hand. So what's common to you might be new to your customer. So there are things that you know that you can teach about the problem and about the outcome that they don't realize, that you don't have to give the whole game away, but you can share a little insight, a little morsel very easily. Then you can show them some actionable things that they can do. So in any piece of content, any email, any outreach, any kind of interaction with a customer, you can use one or more than one of these in the interaction that you're doing. So you could teach something. You could provide some actionable information, some key things that they can do that would help them, that proves to them that you know what you're doing and that you've got value to offer. You can show them and demonstrate to them how you can solve their pain. You can show them a process or steps that you can give them, like your own model of the way you solve problems for clients. You can share transformation stories that of people who've done the same thing as you, they've had the same problem as them and how they've got to an outcome. And this can be for manufacturing, it can be for marketing, it can be for anything. Take them, show people how they've been from point A to point B. And really importantly, really important, you need to put your flair, your flavor, your way of doing things all over it. You need to stamp your identity over it. I don't mean literally brand everything, because that can hurt you as well. But show your flavor, who you are, why you're different, your quirks, your way. Whether that be your business or you need to show your unique flavor. You can't look like everybody else. You can't do things the same as everybody else. Otherwise, you blend in the background. Nobody ever made huge amounts of money from blending in the background. Yeah, it's scary putting your head above the parapet. You will get some people who will throw rocks at you because you put your head above the parapet. But if you don't do it, you'll blend in the background like everybody else, and you'll be beige. You'll be bland. Be unique. Be a little bit bold. Be a bit adventurous. Be a bit mischievous if you want to. People will buy into you. People buy into people. You are the ambassador of your business. In most scenarios, people buy into the person, or a person gets their attention, talks to them, convinces them of their intent and their genuineness, and then they buy into the business. Very few B2B sales happen because somebody just came to a website. It does happen, but most of it is from people engaging with people. So teach actionable steps, solve pain, transformation stories, and experience you. So buy, the final one. You need to no waffle, clear calls to action. No faffing round, no we might be able to help you with this or bespoke tailored solutions waffle. If you want to get out of this pain or from this situation and you want to get here, go do this. So that could be book a call. It could be fill in a form to get more information. It could be an email capture of a lead magnet. But you need to make very clear this is what you need to do. Now, when you do a wishy-washy call to action, in whatever form, you get wishy-washy response. When you give people multiple options, they pick none. There's a lot of research out there that says if you give people three options, they pick the middle one. Yeah. If you give people multiple options, they pick none. So I prefer to have very clear calls to action. If you want to pick three, pick three. That's why people put three options, top, middle, and bottom. But actually, the power is just being very clear and very overt. If you want this, this is what we can do. And remember, the idea is you have a gateway offer or service, a gateway service that you're pushing out there to the world. People engage with it. You have a conversation, and you can then sell them that or move them on to something else. The amount of people who contact our business and say, I've seen you do this. I was just wondering if you do this too. And we get inquiries that we can then filter and generate conversations with to convert them into customers. The danger with putting too much on your website is not competitors match your prices. That should be the least of your worries. The danger is that people consider what you've got to offer without you being involved. So the more information you put out, and you know, this is controversial here, but the more information you put out, the more people have information to consider it without you. What you really want to do is be involved in that consideration process. You want to be involved in the conversation of that sale. So the more you put out, the more waffle you put out, the more options you put out, the more they'll consider it without you. So I'll give you an example. Sometimes on things we do, we just put 4 key bullet points and find out more information. And the bullet points are outcome and pain centric. They're not feature centric. They're not benefit centric. They're outcome and pain centric. Learn how to, or we'll show you how to. This service will help you because we want people to consider it with us, not without us. So see, taste and buy. So you can put this out on social media, you can put this out on email, you can put this out on cold calls, and I'll give you some examples of how you can do this one strategy in a conversation in a second. So, but before we go, where and who does this work for? So, as you know, it works for everyone and everywhere. I've done training with a lot of big companies and a lot of small companies that have paid me to come in. I've worked with energy companies, big global energy companies. I've done this in the US, I've done it in the UK, I've done it in Europe, I've done it in live training into India and Asia. So this has worked for lots of businesses across lots of different cultures because it's human nature. It's selling and promoting a business based on human nature. Now, when the robots take over and AI rules the world and we're all just batteries like the Matrix, this may not work. But AI is not going to take over everything straight away, and it may not take over everything altogether either. So it will work for everyone and everywhere. But there's a few things I want to share with you in a second about how this can go wrong. But let me just show you this chart. So this chart I've shared a lot. It's a brilliant chart. It's put together by Les Binnett and Peter Fielding. They wrote a great report called The Long and Short of It, and they crunched data about sales activities across multiple sectors, multiple industries, and compiled some data that shows people how this works. So if you think the orange line, the one that goes up and down, up and down, up and down, is short-term sales activation. In other words, looking for the 3%, hunting down customers to get the numbers up. The darker orange is what we call brand building. And brand building has a connotation, and I don't mean just pretty logos like everywhere. I mean establishing you are known for something. And I would advocate being known for solving a specific problem. And what they found was that in a 6-month period, that the short-term sales focus works, hands down. You will get more bang for your buck in the first 6 months doing that strategy. However, if you want to get long-term sales growth, it will cost you more to do that same short-term strategy and just scale it. If you try and just scale that short-term strategy, it will cost you more, it will take longer, and actually it's very, very difficult to do because you're not building any residual benefit with the short-term activity. If you're just cold calling, for an example, hitting numbers, saying, hey, do you want a website? Hey, do you want a website? Hey, do you want a website? You might hit your numbers this month, but next month you have to start all over again. Hey, do you want to? And eventually, the only way to scale is to get more people ringing up going, hey, do you want a website? Hey, do you want a website? Hey, do you want a website? So to scale, it costs you more, it takes longer, it's harder. But in the short term, 6 months, it works. In the long term, getting out there and getting known for the problem you solve will have more powerful impact on your revenue. But the first 6 months, this is hard work that requires commitment and focus to just keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. And this has been proven across lots of industries that if you're known for something, it will have a residual benefit. Now, I'm not talking about the whole planet, 7 billion people knowing that you solve the X, Y, and Z. I'm talking about enough people in your market know you can solve X, Y, and Z so that they can feed your business with revenue for the next 2 to 3 years, which for most businesses, we're talking less than 50 to 100 people. Depending on the size of sale, if you're going to sell 500 quid, it might be thousands. But still, with the digital technology and the climate we're in right now, you can do this and scale this, messaging out and getting the message out of who you are, what you can do and what you can solve very, very easily. because everybody's online right now. So the long-term benefit of this strategy is better than the short-term, and that's just being straight. For 6 months, you have to probably work both together. Now, I have seen, for an example, people who've landed in 3 weeks 1.5 million, or I know one of our clients landed £1 million sale in the first 3 months of implementing this. I'd be lying to you if I said that was common. Most people have to work at this for 6 months, and they see a benefit. But you might want to run a dual track strategy for a few months to see that benefit really pay in. And now we have a situation where people have heard about us, contact us, and we have no idea who they are. They're not on our lists of anybody we know. They're not on a prospect list. They just come in inbound. And that can happen for you too. You just have to build and focus on the pain and the solution. Pain and the solution. So what could go wrong? So here's where it typically goes wrong. In all the time we've been doing this and helping people with this, this is where it goes wrong. You don't focus on, or you don't identify a strong pain you can solve. So you need to think deeper. You need to work harder just to focus a bit more. You don't adopt this fully. You're a bit kind of hapdash at this. So you play at it. You don't take it seriously, and so, oh, what's the one day? We'll come back to it next week, and you kind of, you're not taking it seriously. You overthink and don't implement. Big, massive documents of strategy that never actually get used, or you create such a big plan that nobody actually can implement it. Simple works. Simple and improve as you go. Field test. Field test. Field test. If you've got a notebook, just write this down. Field test. That means having a go, and if it fails, improve the next day. Field test, field test, field test, field test, field test. Write it down. It's really important. You get addicted to sales now at the cost of the future. So I'm not saying don't think about sales now, because we've all had those crunch months where it's a bit low and we have to kind of scramble. But if you do that all the time, you'll be doing it all the time. Yeah? If you focus that way all the time, that's what you'll have all the time. Really, really simple. Just as a side, by the way, I'm not selling off the back of this. You've bought this training. You've signed up for this training. This is me giving it to you. So I'm not leading up to a sales pitch. I'm being genuine. This has worked for us. We will continue to do this until we find something that works better than this, which we haven't done so far. This works. What can go right? So I'll tell you what can go right. You become seen as you are seen as an expert, whether you as a business or you as a person. And remember, I believe experts are something that people see about you, not something you say about yourself. You become seen as an expert in solving client pains. You attract clients that need that solution. So you attract buyers, people who see the value and want to buy the value, not the service. People buy the value you bring, not the service you provide. You'll avoid transactional clients and gain value-based clients. So again, this is what Pain and the Gap does. You talk to more people who see the value in what you offer. And this is really important. Sometimes people will have to consider your product multiple times. So being out there frequently, consistently, will help them keep considering you. I know from my own experience, some of my biggest clients have sat watching what I've done, considered it, weighed it up, and then come on board. And we have the joke of the whales. Yeah, we've helped clients capture whales. The whales, big clients, big high revenue clients, big high margin clients, sit back and watch and dive in at their point. But if you're not consistent, they'll disappear, they'll vanish, they'll forget about you. Don't let yourself be forgotten. Make sure people remember you because of the value you offer and the pain you relieve. Perfect in the field, aka field test. Don't just sit trying to strategize and overthink, and yes, do some work, but improve it as you go. Don't think that you have to kind of have it perfect on day one. Just go, have a go, perfect as you go. So let me just recap on the steps. The one strategy, one client, one problem, one message, one offer. focus on who can you solve, what can you solve for people, what's the biggest problem you can solve, what's the one thing you want to be remembered for, i.e. solving a problem for a specific group of people, and what's the offer, the entry point that you're going to get people to become clients, that you can land them as clients and expand them as clients. So how do we do that? What's the tactics? C, high visibility, regular, frequent activity that's wrapped around the pain points and the key message that we come to. Taste. Taste is the types of things that you can share and information that you can put out there that is wrapped around solving pains, outcomes, and where people are and where they want to be. And buy is very clear, very straightforward, no waffle call to actions. You do that. Even if you did it on Facebook and LinkedIn, you will have revenue. If you do it on your website, you will have revenue. But you need to get that in front of your buyers. So go where your buyers are. Don't, if you want to do ads, knock yourself out with ads, but you'll experiment at a cost. What I'm advocating you do is experiment for free on the places where your customers are, fine tune it, and then if you wanted to do ads, you could go knock yourself out with ads. But this will work whatever industry you're in, as long as you do the work to identify the pains and the outcomes you can deliver and how your service gets people from point A to point B. Hopefully that makes sense. I've gone through a lot and I've gone really fast. Does anybody have any questions they want to share? Just as a recap, in the resources section on Maverick's online learning platform, you have a copy of the ideal client profile. It's a tough old document because it forces you to get on the customer's side and into the customer's world to understand this better. In there's the guide and the workbook with some key questions that you need to answer that will help set you up for the ideal client profile. I would actually answer the questions in the workbook first and then go to the ideal client profile. If you want more support, you can get it. That's no problem at all. So any questions? If there's any questions, I'll go through them. You can ask me, how does it work for my industry? I'm in this industry and will happily help you go through some questions. Ask away. So I'll keep chatting because there's a delay on the line. So if you have a question, just put it in the chat. If there's no questions, I'll wrap up and say thank you very much. But when we went through our horrendous situation of a split, we were hand to mouth for 6 to 9 months. In fact, we were hand to mouth for 6 months, but then we had the lag of all the stuff that we'd not quite got together. So RM is just, how would you deploy your strategy for a healthcare product? So actually, I don't know RM what the healthcare product is, but I would think there is a specific person that you can identify that has a problem that your product solves. Now, that could be an aspirational problem, like, grey hair, for an example. People want rid of grey hair. They want hair even. So you need to map out what is it people would achieve by this. Video consultation platform. Okay, so if I think about this in the short term, if they're trying to get so people can have video consultations with doctors or medical professionals, cosmetic surgeons, that kind of thing, I assume. So let's say that they want to engage with this software. What's the problem? So the problem might be a geographical issue. It might be a capacity issue. It could be a social distancing issue. So think about all of the things that's from a doctor or medical professional's point of view is a stumbling block or a difficulty for them in their business, in their day-to-day operations that allows them to see more people. So the other thing is that appointments tend to overrun because people are late or what have you. So the digital platform eliminates a lot of that waiting, moving around, and you can have stricter time limits because you can stop and start consultations. So I would map all of those out And then I'd start to build your message out that what can you help people do? We can help medical professionals have more meaningful appointments with their patients, and they can do it digitally. So if, say for an example, RM, you're targeting the cosmetics world, so, you know, plastic surgeons and things like that, they might need to have consultations, not just in person, but prep consultations, and it allows them to reach an audience of customers or patients that are further afield, who might then be able to go, well, actually, I'll do the digital consultations, and then when I come for my specific consultations, it's less, so I don't have to travel as much. Waiting rooms, social distancing, all of that kind of stuff. It just takes a little bit of thought about why would they need this? What's the problem they've got that this solves? What does it do for them? And if you're having trouble with that, go to the forums, go to the Quora, and start to think about it and look at it, ask polls, and people will start to identify the problems for you. It does take some work to map out the most pressing pain point that your product or service solves, but you will know it, because if you go back to the origins of your business, that's where it came from. That's where it came from. Why should somebody buy it? What's the benefit in buying it? If you know the benefits of buying it, flip them, invert them, and you've probably got the problems. You've probably got the problems. Hopefully that answered the question. Any more questions? So as I said, this session and this project, we'll update this as we go with more examples and more stories, so you can check back in and learn more about it. And actually, just something to say is that if you understand the sales, let me show you this before we wrap up if there's no more questions. Alice, I'll answer your question in a second. If you're ever on a call with a client and you're looking to take them towards the sale and you don't know what to say, remember, let them talk more. And what you can do is ask them a series of questions that helps guide them to the outcome and the purchase that you want. Now, this can be highly misused, so I'm teaching you on the assumption that you are going to use it ethically and responsibly. So if you're in a conversation with a client and our potential client, and you can say, so what is it you're looking to achieve? What's the goal from a service like this? What are you looking, what does success look like? So they'll tell you. And then you can say, well, what have you tried to do this before? And they might try alternatives, they might have said nothing. And when would you like to achieve this outcome that you've just said? So you ask them, when would you like to achieve the outcome? They will set a time frame. And, you know, I'm sure you've got a lot on, but how much of a priority is this? How much, you know, is it important in the next 6 months, 3 months? So you're gauging a time scale of decision, but you're also asking them to put a finger on it to say how important it is for them. And so they'll tell you. And then you can say, well, what's the plan if you didn't go with this? What would you do instead to try and achieve that? Now, all of this is getting the customer to tell you information, but to actually tell you things that they're thinking about the way they're doing it. Now, why is this important? One of the principles of persuasion, a great study by Dr. Robert Cialdini, is one of the 6 principles of persuasion is consistency. So when you get people to answer questions, they're answering the questions, they're in effect internally committing themselves to things. You see this a lot in sales training with cold calling. They get the customers to try and say yes multiple times in the hopes that they'll continue saying yes, consistency. In this way of doing it, you're asking questions that lead people to close doors, close exit routes. So at the end of that call, you can go back to them and say, okay, so you really want to achieve this. The time frame you want to achieve it is the next 12 months. You've tried this before, didn't kind of work as you expected, really important for you. And the plan is if this doesn't fit, this is what you're going to do. So you've mirrored back to them everything that they've said, and they can confirm, yep, that's correct. And then you can move on and say, well, okay, I can see how our service, our product can help with that. I can see how we can do this, I can see how we can help you solve that. I can see how we can do this, and you can explain it out. And then you can say, and this is how we would do it, and this is the price. If that's something you're interested in, if that's the goal you want, this is how we can do this for you. Very, very simple, very, very straightforward, but it performs each and every time. So just ask the questions that explain to the customer can explain to you how important it is they reach their pain, solve their pain, and reach their outcome, and whether they've tried things before, what time frame, and what would they do if they can't achieve it through this. Very, very important. So Alice asked the question, what do women want? I don't know whether a man can answer that, really. Alice, you're selling lace, vintage and Victorian style. So I would look at I would think about this a little differently. What's the problem that your product solves? So I would think about it like that, and then I would look into the market to see who uses that. So Alice, obviously I know you a little reasonably well, but it would be people who are creating costumes, people who are creating period things that they may well be relevant to them. So I would start to research that. How is it being used and why are they using it? What's the pain point they have? Is there something they're trying to achieve and that your products actually help them? So, theatres. Now, I know theatres are in difficulty at the moment in certain countries, but in other countries they're not. You've got costumes, so television production companies and things like that. There's a lot of theatre production companies who are prepping stuff like that now. There's very high society fancy dress balls and things where they want to look that way. There's lots of different places and ways that can be done. So I would just think about what's the application, what's the benefit of the application, and work backwards. Somebody said to me, there's a market for the first, the cheapest, and the most expensive. There's always a market for the first, the cheapest, and the most expensive. I don't know whether it's true, but a lot of people do very well being the first or the most expensive. And some people do very, very well if they can build a structure that makes them the cheapest. But they're the three areas where you can really profit, allegedly. So, Alice, that's what I'd do, is think about the product. What's the benefits? What's the benefits it can give? What's the outcomes it can help? Can it make a dress look beautiful? Could it be a Victorian style wedding? Could it be a vintage wedding? Could you help people who make handmade dresses with vintage? Think about those, and then think about how you can provide a solution to that problem. Any more questions? Any more? So don't forget to go and log into the online platform. On there, you've got all of the further videos, and there's a few more actually uploading at the moment, some new ones we put up. So you can go in, there's about 10 or so videos there. Some are short ones, some are a bit longer, and this recording will go up there as well. If you've missed this recording, you can come back to this link. It's an unlisted link, so you can come back to it time and again just to recap. But all of this will be on the online platform, and the new modules, or the expanded modules as well. So if there's no more questions, I'm going to thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me for the last hour and a bit. If you've got questions from today's session, you can email us hi@maverick.co.uk, and we will come back to you. And if there's some common questions, maybe we've missed something or people want to expand it more, if a few of you send the questions in, we'll record an extra session just to clear anything up that we've missed. Thank you so much for watching. As ever, I hope you get benefit from this. I hope you actually implement this. There's no point you spending money on training and learning things and hearing from people that have achieved things through strategies that you don't implement yourself. So if there's any way we can help you implement, I'm not meaning sell you anything here. I'm meaning if you've got questions, email us hi@maverick.co.uk. We'd be happy to help you. So I will leave you to the rest of your afternoon. Thank you so much for watching. Next Tuesday, oh, sorry, next month. Yeah, next month we start our new live free training sessions on a Tuesday evening. But have a little bit of a break, so do go to our Eventbrite and check those out too. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and see you again soon.